What on earth are you doing, lady? What is that you're stewing? Don't stray far from the hearth, place not while you are brewing.
Right, hello everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Witchlit. And Witchlit is fiction, magical writing about real life witches in the modern day world. And myself, Sheena Cundy, and my colleague Wendy Steele are both Witchlit authors. We run a group on Facebook as well, and basically we're kind of scattering ourselves over the internet. But this is one way that we're really enjoying it, aren't we, Wendy, at the moment? So Wendy's in Wales, I'm in Essex. So we're going to go into the Broom Cupboard for a while, everybody. And in the Broom Cupboard, Wendy and I talk about what we've been doing with our writing for the last sort of couple of weeks. So Wendy, how's your writing going? What's been going down?
Okay, so I belong to a writers group called the Court Now with Scribblers. How lucky was I to move to Wales and find a writing group in the village next to me?
Wow,
so
yeah.
So when I go there, we do sort of short story writing. So quite often, you know, trying out new techniques and new ideas and new things, or sometimes just writing a bit of prose, sometimes having to go a bit of a poem or whatever. So I did that this week, which was really good fun. But my writing wise, I've been doing quite a lot of blogging, and also I have gone back to novel number 10, which is The Able Witch. And I'm happy to say that I'm another 5,000 words into The Able Witch. So yeah, I've got back into that story now, and I'm really enjoying writing it. So the book before is written but not yet published, because
this is your Witchlit series, isn't it?
It's the Lizzie Martin Witchlit series. Yeah. So the first 3 books are published. The book 4 of the series is written, and I'm writing book 5, and there will be a 6th. But my plan was to write 4, 5, and 6, and then I will publish them. I've got quite a lot of loose ends, and there's nothing worse than getting to the end of a series and going, so what happened to that then?
No.
So I want to make sure that all the ends are tied up.
Yeah, nothing worse than a loose end, is there?
No, definitely. What about you? What have you been up to?
Oh my God, I am. Well, yeah, I feel like I've got. Well, you know what it's like. Quite a few plates spinning at the moment. I am. If anybody watched the last episode, they'll know that I'm sort of in the final stages of pre-publication for my first book in my Witchlit series, which actually was originally published 3 years ago with Moon Books, but I got my rights back at the end of last year, and I'm republishing it myself independently. So that's been a journey and a half, which I'm still traveling on. But I'm a little bit further forward than I was a couple of weeks ago. I've formatted and finished uploading my book onto a platform called Readsy. Readsy is a free platform that you can put your manuscript onto and, you know, convert it into an ebook. They convert it into an ebook for you. It then goes onto any platform that you want to put it onto. Mine's going to go onto Amazon. So I've finished all the text, or I say I've finished, but you know what it's like when you finding bits, you know. So I'm doing, at the moment, I'm doing the front matter and the back matter. So I'm putting in my author bio. I'm making sure that I've got all the live links to things like my newsletter sign up, which has got a free download, and my music, because as you know, I'm a singer-songwriter as well with the band Morrigan's Path. So it's really trying to let everybody, you know, people know that have read the book, where else they can find me on the internet. And each day I think of something else. You know, I looked at my author bio the other day and I thought, oh, I've just put so much on there. It's like a CV, you know. So it's trying to make everything as succinct and as concise as possible without sounding too sort of clinical about it, you know, because for me, the joy of writing is in expressing myself as an individual. And because I think that's how, you know, that's what comes out in our writing, isn't it? So, and I, you know, I don't take myself too seriously or life too seriously. So, you know, that kind of humour comes into my writing quite a lot. So when I'm looking at something and I think, oh, this is getting far too serious, I know that I've got to change it. You know, I know that I've got to edit it. So, but the big thing for me has been the cover, because I didn't really know where I was going with the cover, but I have been collaborating with somebody, very nice lady from America, but I had another friend of mine, author friend of mine from Australia, who told me about a really good cover designer. And you know what it's like, there's nothing better than personal recommendation. So she put me in touch with this lady, and we have been collaborating, and you know, it's really exciting. I mean, it's not costing me a lot of money. I didn't even think that I was going to be able to afford to pay any money, but I've managed it somehow. And I'm really pleased with what she's come up with so far. There's a little bit of revision going on at the moment. I don't want to sort of reveal anything because it's not finished, but I think that in the next few days I'll have a cover for my book. So you know, I'm hoping to, well, I'm not hoping to, I'm planning to publish that at Ostara, and then when I publish it, I want to put a pre-order link in the back of that book for the next book. So between now and Ostara, I have got to send that second book out to a few friends, so they're my beta readers, and just get a little bit of feedback from them, and then it's just head down to edit that book 2, and then I'll be getting between Ostara and Beltane, which is when I want to publish book 2. I'll be doing all that I'm doing now between Ostara and Beltane, you know.
Definitely. I mean, I actually paid someone for the launch of the 3rd book in the Lizzie Martin series. I actually did, you know, paid for a blog tour for the book,
Right.
and which was the first time that I'd done that. But just like you, I went on recommendation. The lady who did the work for me was incredibly professional, really kind, knew her stuff, was really patient with me because I'd never done anything like that before, and that was a huge success. So yeah, I think, you know, the fact that you found someone through recommendation to do your cover, and you're happy to be working with her, then I think the fact that it costs money, I don't think is a problem. I think you're getting, you know, the skill of someone who knows what they're doing.
God,
and
yeah.
I think it's so worth it, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I have no idea how to use Photoshop. I have no idea how, you know, I've got no knowledge of graphic design.
No.
What I have been researching is obviously covers, and trying to get a feel and a visual for what's working best in the marketplace, because I think that you've got to have that familiarity in the genre. Now, as we've said before with Witchlit, you know, it's a little bit of this and it's a little bit of that. It crosses quite a few genres. It might cross romance, it might cross humour, it crosses contemporary fiction. You know, there might be a little bit of paranormal, depending on what you think of as paranormal. But, you know, at the end of the day, Witchlit is Witchlit. It's, you know, it's contemporary women's fiction about real life witches in a modern day world. And, you know, my books have got a lot of humour in them. So I wanted something, I want a picture that puts that across, that portrays it, because you've got to have a book, because let's face it, people say, oh, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but we all do.
Yeah.
I don't buy a book unless I like the cover, unless I've had it recommended, what's inside it, I've had it really recommended it to me. So the cover and the blurb really sell the book. So I have been totally in that world for the last sort of couple of weeks, and it's been all consuming, but I've really enjoyed it. I'm just, to me it's an extension of the creative process, and I love imagery and visuals, and so I like working with the tarot cards. So to me, working on the cover has been a real joy.
Excellent.
A little bit more of a joy than it has been for the formatting, which I'm glad that's behind me now. But I've enjoyed I'm enjoying all the aspects of it so far. So yeah, I mean, power to the indie author is what I say, because and having that control, not that I think that I'm aware that I'm a control freak of any kind, but it is nice to have that creative control, isn't it? It's nice to be able to say, I like that, but I don't like that, and I want a little bit more of that and less of that, and I don't want to publish them, but I want to publish them.
We were mentioning about how stressful the last couple of weeks have kind of been. So some of you may be aware that I live in a renovation project, basically. So, and I have done for the last 5 years. There's various things that have been going on, and I've been, I've had quite a lot of stress where we've been trying to get help, and we've been told that we can get help towards installation and things like that, and going through those kind of processes of trying to get things to happen. So yeah, it's been a bit of a stressful time, and just watching the months tick away and just thinking, I'm not getting any younger and I still haven't done this, and so yeah, it's been quite stressful. And so I'm really lucky, was what I was going to say, because I have land here. So if I feel that everything's getting on top of me and I'm getting stressful, I tend to go for a walk, immersing myself in nature, in the elements. One of the things that I do that I find really helpful for stress is a regrounding. So grounding myself. So and yeah, I mean, we can go into details of things like this perhaps at another juncture if people are interested, but feeling myself grounded. So for me, to be grounded means I know who I am, I know where I am, I know where I am in the context of the earth and the world and the universe. I just find that is such a good way to bring my levels down, to sort of immerse myself like that. So from a witchcraft point of view, from a craft point of view, that idea of immersing myself into nature is always really good for stress. Dancing is my other anti-stress device, but I won't talk a lot about that. We'll talk about your anti-stress techniques as from a witchcraft point of view, maybe.
Yeah, well, can I just, while you talk, just say, while you were saying about dancing, was that I think that it is important, dancing, because it's movement. Do you know what I mean? And I think that when we're stressed out for whatever reason, and let's face it, and I say this to my clients because I'm a healer as well, and I say this to my clients, anybody that comes for a reading, stress is the precursor to all illness. So we need to learn how to cope with stress, because it's something that we can't ignore. It does happen, it creeps up on us, because we lead incredibly busy and hectic lives, don't we? And especially you and I at the moment, you with your projects at the homestead and your writing and all that's going on in that, and me here with my writing and with my little homestead. I mean, I've got an extra son now at home who's left university, another job next week, or his first job, should I say. Instead of taking my youngest son to a bus stop in the mornings, I'm going to have to take my eldest son to a train station in the mornings, because we live very far away from anywhere else. We live on the edge of the planet here. And, you know, we love it. But as far as getting anywhere is concerned, it's a car drive to anywhere, to a bus stop or a train station, you know. So I've got that. Anyway, I won't bore you with all the other things that, you know, can saddle us and can wear us down, but we've all got responsibilities and things going on in our lives. And I think for me, I'm so grateful for where I live, because I live in a beautiful place. I mean, the sea is a mile away. And there's a 7th century chapel which I visit every day, an old Saxon chapel. I've got 3 wonderful dogs who need exercising. They're all mad, so and they're mad spaniels, so you know that gets me out every morning, every afternoon. I do that religiously. What I also do fairly religiously, so I'm out in nature all the time, and that grounds me, that keeps me grounded and connected to the earth energies. And to me, that is my magic. You know, if I don't get time to stop and do my yoga, which I love doing, or my sort of, you know, my solitary, still spiritual practice, which I like to do, but if I don't get time to do that, then I'm doing it in my head when I'm outside walking with the dogs, you know, when I'm standing on the beach, when I'm looking for a shell, or, you know, I'm lighting a candle in the chapel. That's when I'm doing it. So, but one of my recent practices has been working with a mala, and I made this mala. It's a crystal mala. It's fluorite. It's beautiful, and I made it with a friend of mine who does crystal mala workshops. She's a pearl stringer, and she's a very, very skilled lady. And I made it at one of her workshops last year, and I've been using it on my daily walks to just chant, you know, because it's got 108 beads in, and if you work with each bead, you chant something, you know, the same. And I know that you can use Sanskrit, but to me, I don't mind Sanskrit, but at the end of the day, it's foreign to me. It's a foreign language. So I prefer, and, you know, I'm a songwriter as well, and I like working with original energy. So I like to make my own chants up. So I make my own chants up. Like, for example, one that I'm doing at the moment is, I am balanced and whole, mind, body and soul. I'm balanced and whole, mind, body and soul. I'm balanced and whole, mind, body and soul. And then gradually, I do that 108 times, and it turns into a chant. It turns into, you know, and before I know it, I'm singing something, you know, I'm singing it. But that to me just stills my mind, focuses me in one place, stops my mind going off in all different direction. And like, as you say, it's a grounding tool. It's a grounding tool. So I love my mala, and you know, we could go on and on about all the different rituals and practices that we do, but I think that it is important for writers especially to be aware of their health, because mentally, I know there's a lot of writers that do have mental health issues, because we're in our heads the whole time. We live in our heads, don't we? And as writers of books, which is volumes and volumes of words of great length, you know, we have to make lots of decisions. If you think about that, Wendy, we've got lots of decisions to make all the time. You know, should this sentence be longer? What happens to her? What colour was her hair? Where are they going? What did they say? You know, book cover, formatting, all these decisions that you have to make. You know, it's no wonder that our brains are scrambled half the time. So I think that we have to be really, really aware of looking after ourselves, you know, taking care of ourselves. So
yeah, I like your little chant. The one that I use isn't my own. It was pinched from someone else, but it's, all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's what I repeat. All of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory.
Nice.
And it's one of those sentences that you can't say and not smile.
Yeah.
It's a weird one. It's one of those ones that makes you smile. So, but yeah, just really interesting. The difference that words can make, especially you were saying about movement, and then you didn't sort of say any more about it. And I think
No.
I think
See,
I think
that
that's
was
really,
awful of me.
no, but I think that's really interesting because movement, dance, exercise,
Yeah.
walking,
Yeah.
jogging, running, all those things are scientifically proven to make you feel better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and especially for us, because we spend a lot of time sitting down, it's
Yeah.
nice to have the other thing where we're active, don't you think?
I think that, yeah, movement, you've got to keep moving forwards. You've got to keep building momentum, you know. Even if you think that it's all crap and that it doesn't, you know, that it's rubbish, I think just push through it, because 9 times out of 10, when you go back to the beginning and you read it after you've had a bit of time away from it, you think, actually, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
Or, did I write that? I can't have written that. Surely it's far too good. But you know, so yeah, so there are stress busting strategies, everybody, that not only cover the writing, but I think, you know, filter out into all areas of our lives. Because when you think about it, the healthier we are, the better, the more balanced and whole our perspective is on our lives, the better we can give to our children, our families, and our audiences, our readers, can't we, Wendy? Don't you think?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Being in the right headspace
Yeah.
makes a lot of difference.
So on that note, I'll have another drop of gin. No, I gave up drinking. I gave up drinking about 6 years ago now, and so like you, and I gave up smoking 20 years ago. So we're kind of the same, but with you know, you gave up the bit the other way around. But anyway, we'll go on to now our Witchanory part of the episode. So, which is where we read a little bit of our writing out from our book. So, Wendy, what are you going to read out?
Okay, so I've got book 3 this time.
The
So
Flowerpot Witch.
this is the Flowerpot Witch. So this is
Yeah.
book 3 in the Lizzie Martin series.
Yeah.
So when just to mention about covers, so the reason that I went for the cover that I did was that I wanted it to look witchy, but I didn't want a witch's hat. And I just basically fell in love with these legs. And then the silhouette of the animal changes with every book. So all 6 books have got a different animal. So the first
And that's
book,
good branding, isn't it?
I hope so.
Yeah, no, that's really good branding, because you've got the same text on all your covers, obviously. You've got the leg. Have you got the same legs on all the covers?
Yeah.
You say? Yes, you've got the same legs, but you've got a different animal.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, that's good, so that your reader will recognise and, you know, associates one book with the next. Now, would you say that all your books can be read as standalones? Are they fairly self-contained, or is it an onward going story?
I think they can. And this was the book that I had the blog tour for.
Yeah.
And about 8 I think I had 7 or 8 bloggers who read the book and reviewed it for me. 3 of them thought that it was too complicated to be standalone. The other 4 loved it and had no problem with it being standalone. So I would say definitely the first 3 books of the series standalone. After that, I think you need to read the first 3 books, which is fair enough, isn't it?
Okay, of course, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right,
So
off you go.
this is Lizzie at her potter's wheel. She's in at the bottom of Louise's garden, there's a little pottery that her and her husband had set up and then never did anything about. So Lizzie is in here, and she's invited Evan, and Evan teaches pottery at evening classes that Lizzie originally went along to. So this is the first time that he has seen her potting. Lizzie loved the way Evan's guiding voice took its timing and tempo from the chants on her CD player. Once she persuaded him to stand beside her rather than behind, she dispelled all allusions to the film Ghost from her mind and concentrated on the wheel. They'd spent half an hour wedging the clay, with Lizzie standing on an old wooden box at the table to give her the required leverage. Once the ram's head spiral she created was to Evan's standard, they moved on to her posture at the wheel, all the while Evan's gentle but firm voice explaining the need to be close to the wheel and have her back straight for safe, healthy, happy potting. With clay in her hands, Lizzie learnt the art of centering on the wheel, excited to discover why her previous efforts had been lopsided. Evan encouraged, gently moving her arms, even repositioning her left foot on a metal box so she could easily lean her left elbow against her knee. Forms developed on the wheel to her touch and pressure, and she learned how a nudge here or a pull there at a particular moment could alter the clay in a second. Evan sipped at his tea from a Mr. Grumpy mug. "You're a natural, Liz. It's as if your body was meant to pot." "If you say so." "I do." His blue eyes sparkled beneath his immaculate brows. "Depending how much time you want to put in, there could be a future in pots for you." From her seat at the wheel, Lizzie surveyed her new domain. If she was going to practice, work hard and take this new opportunity seriously, she'd want to make this place more conducive to creativity, make it her own rather than a borrowed studio. "It's what I want to do." "Why?" "You know I paint, but I've lost the joy in it. Apart from a few frustrated drawings, I've no urge, whereas there's a need in me, a compulsion to work with clay. Doesn't mean it has to be your everything." "True, but clay right now is the path I want to take." "Then you'd best put that mug down and get on." Evan glanced at a gadget bulging shiny watch on his wrist. "I'll need to leave at past. Make it a good one." She took her clay and steadied herself at the wheel, straightening her back and eyeing the centre spot. The trick was to centre herself as well as the clay. Beneath her fingers the magic began, a gentle chant of Om in her ears. She relaxed and shut her eyes. She stood with her back to the forest beside her mother, surveying the distant hills that circuited the trees. She took her mother's offered hand, excited by the gentle smile and mischievous green eyes. They turned, running and stumbling through the trees, darkness and shadows close on their heels. The trickle of water became a rush and rumble, and they emerged before a great pool of water, fed by a heaving river. Water droplets brushed Lizzie's skin, rising from the waterfall created by the pool's excess. She looked down, her toes chilling, and saw the irrigation channels running from the edge of the pool. Her mother forgotten, she followed one channel until it squeezed between two trees. She struggled to follow it, finally emerging in a sheltered glade. Shielding herself from the light, Lizzie inhaled the plants. Each was in full bloom, a single plant in every flower pot. Golden calendulas brushed petals with echinacea. The daisy-like flowers of chamomile and feverfew frothed from their flower pots, and all the while, filling her ears, was the happy buzz of the buxom bees on the lavender. She ducked back through the trees and followed another channel with her eyes, focusing on it when it disappeared. She pushed through the foliage into another small oasis of calm and beauty. She ran back to her mother, turning her with her hand and hugging her around the waist. At the gentle sweep of a loving hand over her hair, she pulled her hands from the clay and opened her eyes. Evan's face was flushed and he pointed to the wheel. "Where did you go? Look what you made." Lizzie rubbed her eyes. "I was with my mother. You could call it the underworld or the other world, I suppose. Explain more. I'll put the kettle on. Coffee, I think, don't you? Strong coffee. All I know is I go to my mother's world, a world of the strange, the mysterious and mischievous, and I call it the land of the Fae. But what happened? What did you see? I saw a woman with her eyes shut, confident and assured, forming a pot like a master. Look at the wheel. It's perfect and enormous. Have you made one before? Lizzie smiled at Evan, shifting from foot to foot, muttering to himself in front of the rumbling kettle. She looked at the huge, blemish-free flower pot, stroking the ring with her finger. This was it, her true vocation. She didn't need Miss Partridge or her course. She'd learn more with Evan, gain some more skills, but there was no denying the evidence in front of her, or the recollection of her mother's smile when they danced in the glade among the flower pots. She was a flower pot witch, and all she had to do was work out how to turn flower pots into a business.
Wow.
I'm sorry if that one was a little bit long, but that was kind of an important part of the book there.
Absolutely. No, I can see why you had to go the whole hog there. Yeah. No, it was a journey, wasn't it? It was a complete journey from when she started to when she finished. And I love that about your writing, how you take people on a journey, literally, you know. It's lovely. It's really good. That reminds me, I'm going to start your book, The Orphan Witch. Wendy sent me her book 2 in her Lizzie Martin series, and it arrived yesterday, or no, the day before yesterday. And I always love getting books in the post, although I keep telling my husband that I'm not buying any more from Amazon. So I said, no, this isn't an Amazon parcel, it's from a friend. Really? But yeah, so that's next on my list. I'm going to read out of my book 1 in my series, which is the published version, the old trad published version, which I'm republishing at the moment. So this is where Isis and Minerva's the main character. Isis is her friend that they met belly dancing, and Isis came round the other day to tell Minerva about the new village vicar who's just come to the village. And yeah, anyway, this is how it carries on. The two friends settled down nicely with their second Brazilian No. 5 coffee and were munching on a combination of Bombay mix and jammy Dodgers, to a greater or lesser extent, depending on the situation. Going with the flow was most important, and she really did try to walk her talk most of the time. Funny you should say that, Minerva, said Isis with a mouthful of Bombay mix and biscuit. Say what, Isis? Thoughts of pulpits and preachers ran around Minerva's mind. About his gig, you know, the vicar. As if she needed reminding. Oh, yes, that. And him, said Minerva. What about it? Well, he plays the guitar, of all things. He was carrying one in a case in the shop, and on the poster it says, a social evening of faith and fun, accompanied by the vicar and his instrument. Well, yes, I suppose so, Minerva. Stop it. Isis, really, I was referring to his guitar, of course. Minerva, it might help to drag yourself out of the gutter and actually take on board what this means. Sometimes, Isis, a bit of gutter humour is exactly what's needed, said Minerva. After all, it's the salt of the earth, don't you think? Without it, we're an unsavoury bunch. Anyway, what in heaven's name does it mean? She felt slightly giddy in the suddenly odd and most celestial atmosphere. Well, it means we have within our midst a man of the cloth, who is not only dishy, but possibly unmarried and relatively modern, as well as musical. He might have a girlfriend. Vicars are not the kind of people who have girlfriends, are they? Said Isis. Yeah, I know what you mean, said Minerva. They're either married or celibate, these cloth men, or closet homosexuals. Minerva clutched her mouth after spitting out a mouthful of soggy Bombay mix. Steady on, said Isis, and patted her friend hard on the back. Thanks, croaked Minerva. Does he look like a closet cloth man, do you think? Isis thought for a moment. Well, having never really known one, or at least not one that I was aware of, I can't say. Minerva couldn't help but be moved by the endearing honesty of her friend, as peculiar as it was at times like this. Looks like we're going to have to find out, Minerva slapped the coffee table hard, sending Bombay mix flying into the jammy dodgers. I feel an inspection in the air, Isis. When is this so-called social gathering of faith and fun? Not sure that I put those two words together in a Christian sentence, but I suppose anything goes these days. I think it's Saturday, 7:30 at the church, said Isis. Any refreshments? I mean, other than the usual tea and coffee, jam and Jerusalem, said Minerva. You're thinking WI. No, Minerva said, I'm thinking brandy. Shall we chance the possibility that in this new man of the cloth, thoroughly modern and musical mind, there is a space for the inclusion of alcohol on the church refreshment list, or not? In which case I will take my own, discreetly carried upon my person, of course. Isis glared at her. Will that be necessary, Minerva? She knew only too well that it would be. Minerva did nothing by halves. Oh, absolutely it will, said Minerva, but then again, we don't want to give the wrong impression now, do we? Isis prodded her hairpiece and glared at Minerva. No, she said, we don't.
Excellent. Brilliant.
And I have to tell you, the adventures of these two in the book 2 and 3, particularly in book 3 that I'm just finishing at the moment, are just bonkers. It's just getting madder by the minute. You know, I don't mind. I that's, like I say, you know, you have to enjoy yourself when you're writing, don't you? And it's self-entertainment, isn't it, really? You know, have to have a laugh.
Excellent.
Anyway, Wendy, have we got anything else to talk about? Have we got the who have we got coming on the show next? None other than
Laura Perry is going to be
our friend and colleague, who also runs the Witchlit group with us. Laura is a pagan artist, writer. She's been trad pubbed and she's indie published herself as well, independently published. I think she's a musician as well. And
what she
she's
doesn't
prolific.
know about the Minoans isn't worth knowing. She knows everything about that part of history, as well as all the gods and goddesses. Awesome lady. Yeah,
and Laura is from America, the States, so she'll be joining us in our next episode. So that would be wonderful to have a chat with her. But yeah, she has recently, in the last couple of years, published this beautiful Minoan tarot deck. Which are lovely. So looking forward to that, aren't we, Wendy? So on that note, the tarot note, should we pick a card? Finish with a card?
Definitely.
Shall we?
Good idea.
Yeah. Okay. So I thought you could pick a card, Wendy. So I'll here we are. Go on, pick a card. Pick a card. There we are. Oh, okay. Thank you. Oh, do you know what? This is my favourite card. I have to admit, if you were to say to me, what is your favourite card of the tarot? It would be this one.
Ah, magician. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So what do you think about the magician, Wendy?
So is another major arcana card.
Yeah.
We picked major arcana before, so there's definitely some fate at work. I noticed the infinity sign, so it's like never ending, things going round in circles. But isn't he a beginning? Isn't the magician the beginning of things? Or is that more, would you say he's the beginning of new things?
He can be, because on the Fool's journey, he's one of the first guides of the Fool. So now, metaphorically speaking, I would say that he teaches us skills, and he's a great infuser of confidence. So we learn a lot with the magician. you know. And this is what I feel about the card anyway. We learn a lot with the magician, and we can learn to work with our tools. And if we're witches and if we're writers, then we learn, you know, we work with those tools, you know, in tandem, don't we, to produce whatever we want. I mean, you know, and I don't know about you, but I work quite a lot of magic. You know, and that magic is very simple magic. It might just be, like I said earlier, just lighting a candle in the chapel, writing down my intentions, burning them, you know, or sending them out to sea, or, you know, burying them in the ground, whatever it is. But the magician, he draws from above. So he draws from the spiritual and magical and unseen realms, and, you know, grounds that energy. All right, so he manifests,
like manifesting it. Yeah,
he manifests whatever he wants. So it's about putting out those intentions, sowing the seeds, and then but doing the required work. So, you know, we can't just expect things to happen, things to land on a lap. We have to put the work in. So that's where the skills come in. That's where learning what we need to, you know, what skills we need to hone and use for whatever it is, whatever the job is, you know. But another thing about the magician is that he teaches us focus. So he's the energy of focused intent. You know, and if you think about it, we use massive amounts of mental energy when we're writing, and concentration, you know, so to have him as a guide, I think is quite magical. I mean, you know, pardon the pun, but I have him propped up on in my office on my desk quite a lot. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So, you know, and he's got the wand, he's got the chalice, he's got the pentacle, and he's got the sword. So he's got earth, air, fire and water all at his disposal, you know. So we've got all the elements that are our options that we can work with. So a powerful card. Yeah.
Excellent.
So, you know, I think we can relate to that individually and together with the podcast, and I hope that everybody else that's watching / listening can relate to the magician as well, because he is a wonderful guide, and a very important one.
Excellent.
So yeah, tremendous power in the magician. Yeah, tremendous
what
power.
A lovely card to end on.
Yeah. So I think that's it for this week, don't you, Wendy?
I think so, definitely.
And we'll be with everybody again in a couple of weeks' time. But until then, it's been lovely chatting to you all, and chatting to you, Wendy, and having a laugh, and doing the magic, which is what we witches do. And it's ta-ta from me, from Essex.
And bye from Wales, and see you in a couple of weeks. And we'll have Laura Perry with us.
We will. Bye, everyone.